drop your ego and be more of a consultative type salesperson where instead of selling something, you're working with the customer to find a way to make their business better.
You are listening to the Deal Breakdown with Derek Shebby, where we spotlight the best deals out there in B2B sales, from the open all the way to the close. Welcome to the B2B Deal Breakdown podcast, where we give you the play-by-play on some of the best deals out there. I'm Derek Shebby, and I'm excited to be meeting with Steve Drummond. He's a territory manager in the medical sales industry. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, how's it going, Derek? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you on. Could we start off by you telling the listeners a little bit about your background?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. So I started in business-to-business sales about 6 years ago at Xerox, selling copiers. It was a great experience for me, Fortune 500 company, and they were very on top of the sales process and great training. I had some successes there, really built my resume, and decided that I wanted to kind of take the next step to software or medical sales. So I got a job at a startup doing software sales, and had some successes there for about a year. But I knew my end goal was I always wanted to get into medical sales. So I ended up being an associate in medical sales for about a year and a half, got some good experiences, good relationships, learned a lot from the senior reps, and now I am a territory manager covering east to Yuma, Arizona, and north to Palm Springs. And I've been with my current company for about 16 months now.
That's awesome. It's great. I think there's a lot of B2B salespeople that can relate to how you grew up in sales and in the B2B market space. So what do you sell? What company are you with?
Yeah, so my company is called Smith & Nephew. We're one of the larger medical device companies out there. I think we're in like 60 countries, publicly traded, and we have a few different divisions. So we're really big in sports medicine, really big in trauma, orthopedics. But my particular division, I work in wound care. So I'm working with a lot of hospitals, wound care centers, and then private physician offices. And the main product I sell, they're called Graphics and Travix, and they're basically cryopreserved placental tissue. And they have great attributes for healing wounds, especially for people that have underlying conditions like diabetes or an arterial deficiency. So we basically take this bio tissue for these people that have had wounds for months, sometimes years. They're super close to amputation. And you go ahead and you basically put these skin grafts on, and patients that were literally about to lose their leg or get a terrible infection heal at a tremendous rate.
Jeez, that's crazy. I'm so glad there's something like that that's available too. So I guess, like, are there other companies like you out there doing this, or do you guys have the only solution for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's actually it's called skin substitutes, not skin grafts. So there's actually 62 other companies out there selling skin substitutes. And the list just keeps on growing. But what separates us is almost everyone else is selling dehydrated and dead tissue. So it still has some great properties to heal wounds, but what makes our tissue different than everyone else is we cryopreserve it. We make that tissue fully living with mesenchymal stem cells. The FDA tests every lot that we have to make sure it's full of mesenchymal stem cells. And we're the only company that has living tissue with mesenchymal stem cells in the grafts. And basically what mesenchymal stem cells do is when you're younger, and that's why we take it from placental tissue, your mesenchymal stem cell count is the highest it'll ever be. And then every day that you get older, not only are you losing mesenchymal stem cells, but the ones that you have, they're getting a lot weaker. So that's why when you're a child and you get a cut or something on you, you heal super quick, you don't scar very badly. But then 50 years down the line, you get that same cut. It takes you a lot longer to heal, you scar a lot more. And then mesenchymal stem cells inherently, it's called the 5 A's. So they're angiogenic, which is going to increase blood flow to the patient. It's anti-adhesive, so it's going to scar a lot less. It's also anti-scarring. It's antimicrobial, so it's going to help with infection. So yeah, mesenchymal stem cells, it's groundbreaking, and we're the only company that has it.
This is awesome. So this is exactly what I'm talking about. There's so many incredible services out there. And in B2B, I'm glad that that this company has someone like you, Steve, selling for them and getting the word out there, because I know what you're capable of out there in the field. So with this specific deal that you're sharing today, why'd you choose this one?
Probably because it was private office, which means the doctor owns it, which means that everything he pays for is coming out of his pocket, compared to a hospital where he goes there, he does surgery, he's not paying for the products, he knows how much he's going to make. I mean, this is literally his life. And then it was also during Corona, which is a tough time for a lot of people that own their own business. And then it was also a new account where a competitor was in for a long time, and I was able to differentiate our products compared to them and show a solution that they found to be beneficial.
Awesome. But don't give away too much. It sounds like it's going to be a great deal to hear about. So what size deal did this end up being for you in terms of like your budget or your quota?
Yeah, so this was about 85% of my monthly quota, and I was already about 20% into my quota, and it was the first week of the month. So it was just huge to hit quota in the first week of the month, and then everything else was just kind of gravy on top, and I can focus on other prospects and making sure my pipeline's ready for the next month.
That's great. Now, is it normal to get a deal this size that even from a private practice is a deal that's almost 1 month budget? Is that like is that a special deal size typically, or is it small?
Totally. So for a private office, it's huge. This was probably my biggest upfront private office deal. Usually they'll buy the skin substitute each time they need one.
Yeah.
So yeah, for private office, this was really big.
Nice. Okay. This is exciting. So how did you first find this account that you went after?
So I've been cold calling on them for a while. I knew it was a great practice. I was seeing a lot of patients, so it was a great opportunity. But one of the great things about my company is our competitors, they just sell skin substitutes. So we're so big in wound care. We have 6 different divisions in wound care. So some reps will sell dressings, some will sell capital equipment. I sell tissue. And what's great about that is I found out that one of our other reps had a product in there. So kind of just doing my own homework and then reaching out to our other rep, developing a relationship, and kind of just using teamwork to leverage myself with the account was how I found it.
That's awesome. So was that data in the CRM somewhere, maybe your CRM, that said that they already had services with a different division of your company, or did you find it some other way?
Yeah, so it was in the CRM. It was kind of like a new program that they put out where you can look at an office or facility and it would show you a portfolio of products that they were using and see what other reps that were in there. Just kind of because my company knew that we had so many reps in one division that we were unique and that we should leverage it in a certain way.
That's great. I think this is a good testament in general for people that have CRM and just to really understand how to navigate through there and to look if you have other divisions inside of your company to see what else they've purchased or what other services they've had with your organization just to find that opportunity. So okay. So you made the connection, you talked to your other colleague that had the relationship, and eventually you had to reach out to the customer to set an appointment, right?
Yep.
How'd that happen?
So I reached out to the other rep. I knew she had a good relationship with the doctor. Kind of had her reach out to make a little bit of a warm introduction and let him know that I was going to be reaching out. So I reached out to the office and I leveraged that relationship that I had with the other rep. I know you guys are using some of our products. They work great hand in hand. I'd like to show you some of the other products we have to see if they would also be a benefit for you guys. And just from that, I was able to schedule a lunch with them.
It's great. It's great. So you scheduled this appointment, the lunch, and tell me about this first appointment that you had with them. Like, what was the discovery about? Were there certain challenges that you found that they had? What challenges were they facing? And how'd you build the value and close for a next step?
Yeah, so first I dove in to see if they're using skin substitutes, how often they're using them, just to kind of feel out how big of an opportunity it was. I realized right away this is a really big opportunity. This is a great account for me. So then I dove into the competitor, found out that they were using one of my biggest competitors that I'm very familiar with. And just from doing tons of homework, being familiar with this competitor, I knew as soon as they said their name, boom, 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 these are the areas I could attack. These are the ways that we were better than them. So the competitor that they were using, I already knew their pricing generally. So I knew we were in the same price range. But I also knew that we had a COVID relief option where if an account bought a certain amount of graphs up front, they would get a major discount, like 20% off if they bought 10 graphs. And I knew they had the volume where every time they use these graphs, Medicare will then go ahead and reimburse the office. So typically they're going to make money off of the graphs. So I went ahead and was able to offer the COVID relief option, which showed them that you guys are going to use enough graphs in the next few months to pay for these, but this is the savings that you're going to get on top of that. And then also know my competitor, they send their product in frozen, and our product is shelfable. So with a frozen product, a lot of times with these patients, they won't show up that day. The patient will show up and they'll have infection. For some reason or not, you won't be able to graft them that day. So now that office has to take that graft that's sitting there on ice and is only good for 48 hours. They have to rush to get it to UPS, to get it shipped back to the company, to get a refund. And it's just a terrible process for the office. And then I focused on the mesenchymal stem cells. Hey, like they're a great tissue product. You're seeing great results. So on top of that, you're going to get mesenchymal stem cells, and dove into the science. So in essence, I was basically able to show them scientifically the product is superior. You're going to get better patient results. For your office, your workflow is going to be so much better, so much easier. You don't have to worry about this return process. Just the ease of mind of knowing the graft is sitting there on your shelf. Anytime you want to use it, you grab it. You don't need to use it, you put it back. And then on top of that, I was able to show them the COVID relief option. And I also was able to show them that we have a local agreement where we can give you a 5% discount. And I've just found in sales, I think, giving the customer the option and showing them, hey, you guys have 3 different options here. You know, you can get our standard pricing and we'll put the graphs on the shelf. We could do a 5% discount for you. Or if you guys want, you could buy up front and save all this money and kind of put the ball in their court and let them feel like they were part of the process and that it was their decision.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. Your strategy is fantastic. So let me make sure I understand your process. On this first appointment, was this also you bringing pricing too?
So I always have pricing on me.
Yeah.
It ends up being a conversation. Usually once you sell them scientifically, you know, the next conversation is how much is it and how much am I going to be reimbursed? So I wasn't planning on diving into that. The call just went so well that after I met with the doctors, he was like, I want you to talk to whoever's in charge of billing. Let's compare pricing.
Is the next step in your that you typically do, is it like a demo or is it I know a demo sounds a little strange for what you sell, but like what is the next step in a normal sales cycle that doesn't go so amazing like this one did on this first appointment?
Well, I ended up taking a few more appointments because I showed them the pricing and they thought it was okay, but it wasn't better than the competitor that they were using. So that's when I went back to the drawing board and I realized that we had this COVID relief option. We had second and third meetings where we went over different pricing options and stuff like that. So yeah, that's basically how the pricing option went for them. Yeah.
Got it. And do you know by any chance if they brought the competition back in just to see if they can give them an even better deal?
I know they brought it up to the competition, yeah. But another thing that I kind of leveraged on and what was great for me was their local rep lost his position during Corona. So they also lost that relationship there, which was very big for me. And I knew the size of their company, that they didn't have COVID relief options. So yeah, they weren't able to match it.
Yeah. So you knew that there was too many other benefits to go with you than to stay with who they currently were with. Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
great. That's great. I mean, there's so much in this one, and it sounds like it really comes down to your preparation. You know, I mean, before you walked into this appointment, how much did you prepare for what you knew about this company and how the conversation could change in that meeting?
I'm huge on preparation. I hate going into a meeting not being prepared. I think one of the biggest things is I try and put myself in the shoes of my customer. So what do they want? It's not me selling them. It's what do they want? What's going to make their life easier? And then if I'm them, what would my objections be? So I usually role play that in my head and kind of know what they're going to say to me or what they're going to object, especially after you keep going on meetings, you kind of hear all the same things. And then on top of that, I see the same competitors, and I've done sales at different companies. You usually do see the same competitors, and I hate losing to competitors. So I have, for my top 10 biggest competitors, I have a profile of everything that we can do better than them. So that way, a lot of times on your first sales call, they'll bring up the competition and you won't know much about them. And then you have to leave that sales call. Now do your homework about them and get a second meeting. But if you already know everything on that first meeting, I mean, you don't have to get that second meeting. And then on top of that, it just makes you seem so much more knowledgeable if you're able to talk to the other company's product on top of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess going back to the last proposal you did they move forward right away, or was there some time in between them saying, okay, Steve, let's do this? How much time went by?
So that was the toughest part. We had to draw up an agreement with them with T's and C's, and just kept going back and forth. There was a few different changes they want, and making them win. The customer wants to feel like they won. No one really wants to feel like they've been sold super hard, as you know.
Right. Yeah, everyone wants to feel like they won, and especially in your situation, it's something that you're selling. I mean, this is changing lives, making such a big impact, and I think they probably feel that they're just protecting their own financial interests right now during the pandemic. They got to make the right call for their practice. So there's a lot of great things in this one, Steve. What would you say, looking back, were the keys to victory for you with this deal?
First, the CRM is huge. I feel like at the end of every day, I'm always digging into the CRM, trying to find new customers to cold call on, checking past notes to see if we've ever had anything at the account. And then identifying your best targets, realizing how much of a competitor that they're using, and then developing a sound strategy, whether it be working with a teammate, leveraging something your product has that they don't have, but just going into that meeting, knowing that you have something that they're going to want. And then on top of that, staying persistent, always following up, whether it be on the first meeting or being on that proposal. And then, having the customer feel like they win, give them options, drop your ego and be more of a consultative type salesperson where instead of selling something, you're working for the customer, working with the customer to find a way to make their business better.
Yeah, I love it. The same question, what are there any things that you would have done differently looking back on it, say, oh, I wish I did this or that?
Yeah, I probably would have started working with my teammates a lot earlier. I feel like a lot of times salespeople are lone wolves that just want to do everything themselves. I mean, out of that, I developed a great relationship with the rep that I work with. And I don't know, I feel like that's where you learn all the tribal knowledge and the stories that we're doing now, what worked for you in the field, what didn't work for you in the field. So yeah, working with my teammates, and then that's probably the biggest thing, yeah. Or maybe being more on top of the CRM and just always having that healthy pipeline and new customers to go after.
Yeah, this is great. So I guess there's a lot of great tips, tactical tips that you bring up in this, Steve. So I guess words. What about any final words of advice for the B2B salespeople that could be struggling, or the ones that are going, I'm doing great, but I want to do even better? What are some wisdom? Because I know that you've been climbing up to the top of the stack ranks at your organization. You're out there hustling every day, but there's things that you probably learned over the years that where you said, you know what, these are things that you constantly have to keep doing because they work and they're keys to your own success. Any wisdom that you want to share with the group?
Yeah, it's habits. I mean, you shouldn't be looking for praise from other people. It's more about yourself. If you have habits and you put in the same work every day, you're always doing the same things and the right things, it's going to work for you. But then on top of that it's most reps are average. Make yourself different, make yourself above average. So become a product expert. I know when I started at Xerox, our CEO would talk about running into a fastball. Like, sure, hard work is huge in sales. You got to keep hitting doors. Eventually you will run into a fastball. But if you're a product expert and you can really be a consultant for that company and be able to differentiate on your products, I mean, that's huge. You gotta bring value in some way. And then the other thing I would say is just accountability. So many reps aren't very accountable, or they'll sell you a product and then you don't hear from them for a long time. It goes such a long way with customers. If you say you're going to do something, do something. Just work your hardest every day. Cold call a lot, prospect a lot, keep your pipeline full, and usually works out.
Yeah, well, it's worked out for you, man. It's been awesome to hear your deal here today. If people want to reach out to you further, what's the best way?
I would say LinkedIn, just Steven Drummond, Steven with a V, and then Drummond, DRUMMOND. I'm pretty active on there and I respond well.
Okay, great. I'll make sure I include that in the show notes. Well, hey, thanks so much, Steve, for sharing your deal today, a recent deal showing that, yeah, it doesn't matter what's going on, the pandemic, whatever, people are still out there buying, and if you're hustling. So thanks for all the wisdom today.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it, and keep doing what you're doing.
Will do. Well, that's it for today's session, everyone. Thank you so much, Steve, for helping all of our fellow B2B salespeople out there improve their sales skills. For our listeners, if you'd like today's highlights, be sure to check out our summary on modernSalesTraining.com. Have a great sales week, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Hey, if you enjoyed listening to this podcast, then you have to come check out our free Top Performer Academy course. Inside it, I'll give you 12 sales tips that only the best salespeople do on a daily basis. Tips ranging from cold calling to running effective appointments, handling objections, and creating urgency in your deals. You can get it 100% free at www.modernSalesTraining.com/free. That's modernSalesTraining.com/free. These 12 tips could be the difference between you having a good month or an incredible one. I hope to see you there.